This is Untold Stories with Rachel Sibinyane.
Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Rachel Sibinyane. I'm an investigative journalist specializing in crime with a special interest in prisons and prisoners. Welcome to the second episode of Behind the Murder. This is where I reveal what happened prior to the murder, how and why it happened. On today's episode, I am looking into the murder case of Mmoloki Pholo versus the state. Pholo was convicted by Francistown High Court of a single count of murder, and Justice Tshegofatso Mogomuzi, finding no extenuating circumstances, sentenced him to death on April 2022. Pholo had pleaded guilty to the offense. He was accused of murdering Mercy Kemme Sebolao at Bonnanonyane cattle post in near Sefope village on January 14, 2018. Now, what really happened? Why did Mmoloki Pholo kill Mercy Kemme Sebolao? According to court particulars, Pholo was engaged as a herdsman by the deceased, Mercy Kemme Sebolao, and one Onalen Nabae. He had started his duties in early January 2018. On the morning of the 14th January 2018, the deceased drove to the cattle post to attend to a sick calf. At around 3 p.m., after the deceased finished the chores she had come to execute, she told Pholo that she was leaving for Sefope. Pholo then demanded payment from the deceased. He held her hand. The deceased then asked Pholo what payment he was talking about. Pholo produced a screwdriver and threatened to stab the deceased. She slapped Pholo on the face and ran away. She ran towards her car, but Pholo caught up with her as she was about to get into the car. He stabbed her on the nose and mouth with a screwdriver. The deceased broke free once more, and Pholo caught her before she could escape. Pholo then started dragging her towards a goat pen. She broke free a third time, but Pholo caught up with her and hit her with fists. He then dragged the deceased into the bush. He assaulted her with fists. Deep into the bush, Pholo stripped the deceased naked. He then hit the deceased with a motswere log on the head. The deceased lost conscience and bled from the wound. Pholo then made fire with the intention to burn the deceased. The deceased subsequently regained conscience and they walked back to the cattle post. The deceased slept on a mattress which she was ordered to take from inside one of the tents by Pholo. Pholo then took out a knife and put it next to himself and removed an axe from one tent to another tent. At around 8:30 in the evening, a car driven by Matsunyogoranja approached the cattle post. Pholo switched off the deceased's cell phone, fearing that she might report him through it. Pholo then took an axe and hacked the deceased 3 times on the head with it. He left the axe stuck on the deceased's head and ran away. During the commission of the crime, Pholo was only 23 years old. He was raised by a single mother and comes from a very poverty-stricken family. He has never went to school, and to this date, he doesn't have an ID. Pholo is currently on death row awaiting his appeal. He appeared before Justice Walia on Monday 8th May 2023 in a bid to convince the Court of Appeal to admit his late appeal application. I am reliably informed that ever since Mmoloki Pholo got admitted into death row, he has never had any visitors from his family and relatives.
This is Untold Stories with Rachel Sibinyane.